If you're trying to eat healthier, maybe you've gotten stuck with how to plan your meals, how to go grocery shopping correctly, or even just figuring out what to make for dinner. Well, if so, then this video is for you. We're going to be diving into so many easy tips and tricks for how you can simplify your meal planning, meal prep, and grocery shopping for ultimate success on any healthy eating plan, but especially on the Mediterranean diet. Hey, I'm Dr. Anna. I'm a medical doctor. I was trained in Italy. And on this channel, you are going to master your health with the Mediterranean diet. So let's dive right into some simple strategies for successful meal planning. I'm going to suggest that you have a very easy framework in your mind for general nutrition. And this doesn't just apply to the Mediterranean diet, it applies to any healthy dietary approach, but the Mediterranean diet makes it really easy to do this because the way the Mediterranean diet works is there's so much variety built into it, and meals tend to be super simple. So my first suggestion for you is to plan your proteins. Now, why do I say it that way? Well, the truth is, the Mediterranean diet is famous for including lots of plant-based protein sources, things like beans, lentils, nuts, and seeds, but it also includes lots of fish and seafood. And it tends to be that fish and seafood is consumed in the Mediterranean diet more often than meat. But hear me when I say that meat is still included in the Mediterranean diet. Usually, poultry is specifically recommended more often than a red meat variety, but there is a time and place for everything in the Mediterranean diet. And when it comes down to animal products like eggs or dairy, it's really about choosing which things that you like to eat. As long as the food is natural, meaning it comes from nature, either from a shrub, a tree, the ground, an animal, sea creature, you name it. If it's coming from something from nature, it's likely to be pretty healthy for you. You decide whichever proteins you like to eat. I suggest incorporating them and thinking about them before you even start any of your meal prep or planning. For me, it's easiest to do this at the grocery shopping stage. So when I'm generating my grocery shopping list, I write down exactly which proteins I want to buy, and I'm often going to incorporate a nice variety, and those will include things like canned anchovies, sardines, or tuna or salmon. A nice thing about buying proteins at the grocery store as well is that most often, if it's a meat or a fish, you can buy it in bulk and then stick it in the freezer. Or if it's something like a bean, you can buy it dry, so that will last, honestly, a long time, or even the canned form, which will also last a long time. So you don't always have to be buying these things consistently at every grocery shopping. If you find a coupon, go ahead, buy a little bit more so that it saves you a little bit of time later. Now, my second tip for you for how to meal plan and prep the easiest way possible is to focus on produce. So these are vegetables and fruits. Often in the grocery store, these are going to be laid out right in the front of the store when you first enter. Think of that as a way to help you hack your own health. If you fill up your grocery cart with lots of produce, then it's going to force you to eat these things. And if they're fresh, you're going to have to eat them quickly. You can challenge yourself by changing which produce you like to buy each time, or if it's too overwhelming for looking at all the different types of vegetables that a grocery store might sell, just stick to the ones that you know today and you can incorporate new things over time. I like to mentally break down which vegetables I'm buying into 3 main groups, and these are going to be leafy greens, a cooking vegetable, and a starchy vegetable. Now, this framework really works for me because it helps me buy a nice variety of things to put into my pantry and my fridge, but also it does help balance out the nutrition. It is nice to have a variety of things. It also keeps your diet a little bit more fun. Now, when it comes to starchy vegetables, this is going to include any potato or potato variety, any squash, and even things like corn or peas. And hey, if this video is working for you, I want you to hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, turn on the bell notification so you don't miss any important information that I put out to help you make being healthy automatic. Now, what's my third tip for you at the grocery store and in life for how to make meal planning and prep super easy is to think about which whole grains you want to incorporate. So this could be the basics like rice or pasta, or even more unique varieties, things like farro, quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat, wheat berries, barley, you name it.
Whole grains are super nice to have in our life, in our pantry, because they allow us to bulk out a meal and they have a really long shelf life. So if you buy a big bag of rice, maybe by the pound or a couple of pounds, usually it's going to be more cost effective. So it's going to be a little bit cheaper to do it that way. If you have the space in your pantry, that rice can sit in there for months and it'll be okay. The Mediterranean diet is really founded upon whole grains. Unfortunately, most of the grains that we're eating in our modern Western diet is very processed and refined grains, where they remove a lot of the components of the grain that have the nutrition, and the only thing left is really the starch, and in your body, it's really just simple sugar. All right, here's my fourth tip for how to make meal planning and prep even easier for you on the Mediterranean diet. And it's to include something that just makes you happy every time you grocery shop. Now, this is a little bit unconventional advice, but I am giving you permission to buy something that might not be considered healthy or even truly Mediterranean diet friendly. Why? Because our mental health matters so much, and deprivation can really cause more harm than good. Now, hear me when I say that I'm encouraging you to get one item every time you go grocery shopping that's sort of just for you, not necessarily everything on your grocery list. And what's nice is you can kind of change it up. So if one week you're like, you know what, I just need some ice cream. And the next week you're like, ooh, I kind of want something salty. Maybe I'll go for a chip. Enjoy yourself. Please, by no means do you need to be so restrictive in your approach to health and life that you feel like you're getting overwhelmed and stressed about it. That's not what the Mediterranean lifestyle is about. The Mediterranean lifestyle is Mediterranean diet plus so many other aspects of living well. And part of that is to decrease our stress, to engage in social activities, to engage in exercise, to get outside in our community, to get outside in nature. All of these things are important parts of following a Mediterranean diet and lifestyle. So please do yourself a favor, and if you really want something, give it to yourself. So whatever your thing is, go ahead and treat yourself. Get one thing each time you go grocery shopping that just makes you happy. My question for you that I'd like you to share below with all of us in our healthy community is, what do you do that really works for your meal prep and planning? Are you somebody that needs to plan out your menu for the week? Are you someone that just has to plan your grocery list and you kind of go rogue and see how you feel each day when you go make your dinner? Please share with us so we can all benefit from your amazing ideas. Now, if this video has been working for you, I want you to like it, hit the thumbs up button, and please share this video with at least 3 people. Could be a friend, a family member, a colleague, a neighbor who you think could really benefit from learning a little bit more about healthy diet, nutrition, and the Mediterranean approach to life.
And now let's jump over to the tips and tricks for grocery shopping success.
I'll be breaking down for you my top 4 essential items that I'd argue should be forever on your grocery list so that you can make eating healthy automatic. Make sure to stick around until the end, where I'm going to reveal for you my bonus item. It is one of the healthiest foods under the sun with direct linkages to tons of specific health benefits. Hey there, I'm Dr. Anna. I'm a medical doctor. I was trained in Italy, and on this channel, you will learn how to master the Mediterranean diet. So let's just dive right into it. Our first essential item to keep on your grocery list is none other than olive oil. And if you can, buy extra virgin olive oil. Now, for those of you that are already familiar with the Mediterranean diet, this will definitely come as no surprise. Olive oil is so famous for being full of flavor, super versatile in cooking or eating it in raw form, like on a salad, and it is linked to so many specific health benefits in medical research. It's good for things like preventing heart disease, preventing diabetes, preventing dementia, preventing obesity, supporting improved longevity or living longer, and tons of other amazing things. Olives, of course, grow abundantly in the region surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. And if you want to know a little bit more about which kind of olive oil might be the best for you to buy, I have a great video for you over here where I talk about the differences between virgin and extra virgin olive oil and things you need to know in order to make sure you're buying the right variety for you. And if you're getting any value from this video so far, I want you to go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Most of the time when you walk into a grocery store, it doesn't matter how big or small, the produce should be the first thing that you see. And you can think of this as actually a huge bonus to your health, because if you're filling up your grocery cart with things like vegetables and fruits, especially fresh forms of these things, you're going to be forcing yourself to eat healthy foods and make healthy meals. Now, we know that vegetables and fruits are absolutely an essential part of a healthy and balanced diet. And they're so important because they provide us tons of vitamins and minerals, they pack a lot of punch, and they're low in calories, in addition to the fact that they give us an essential amount of fiber in our diet that we need to help ease digestion. I'm not going to be particular here and tell you exactly which vegetables or which fruits are the best for you to buy, because quite honestly, I think nature did us a solid, and there are so many different kinds. You really should just be buying the ones that you like. When you can, I do recommend buying produce in season. Not only is that going to likely help reduce the price because it doesn't have to get shipped as far, but it's gonna taste so much better. Now, if you are thinking to yourself that you're not really sure what you would even do with fruits and vegetables if you had them in your house, or maybe you're just kind of in a cooking rut and you sort of buy the same things and make the same meals over and over, well, I want you to go check out my video over here, which is the first of a series. It's how to put together a Mediterranean diet breakfast. I also have the lunch, dinner, and snack videos that go along with it. So check out the playlist over here so it'll help you get started with how to put these meals together. Now, diving into our item number 3 on the grocery list that should always stay there are whole grains. And just like with the vegetables and fruits, there are so many different kinds that you can buy. So I really do encourage you to challenge yourself and try some ones that maybe you don't often have, or maybe you've never had before. Things like quinoa, buckwheat, farro, wheat berries. But if you're not in an adventurous mood and you just want to stick to the classics, having rice on your grocery list, which could be white rice, whole grain, wild grain, black rice, red rice, you decide which one you like best. Or even just throwing in some pasta. Having lived in Italy for several years, pasta is an absolute must in my household. Whole grains are really useful in our diet because they provide us really healthy sources of carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are one of our 3 main components of a healthy diet. They're one of our 3 what are called macronutrients. In a whole form, whole grains are also providing us small amounts of healthy oils and vitamins like vitamin E, as well as some minerals. And there are some of these whole grains that do provide a source of protein. So if somebody is vegetarian or vegan, this is another way that they can boost up the protein intake in their diet overall. Now, my 4th item that you should always have on your grocery list every time you go to the grocery store is your choice of healthy protein. Now, one of my favorite things about the Mediterranean diet is that it is actually a very versatile approach to eating. So whether you are a meat lover, you just like to eat meat on occasion, such as holidays or special occasions, you're a pescatarian and you want to avoid land animals and you're just going to eat seafood or fish, or you want to go full-on vegetarian or vegan or anything in between, the Mediterranean diet can work for you. So it's all about choosing the healthy protein that is best for your diet and to your liking. The Mediterranean diet is rich in using beans or lentils, so some of these plant-based protein sources that are so healthy for our bodies. They're very inexpensive and they're super easy to make. You can often boil them or soak them overnight, pan fry them, put them into a casserole. There are honestly so many ways to eat beans or lentils that I can't even begin to tell you all of them in such a short video. But even things like hummus, it's from garbanzo beans, otherwise known as chickpeas, or something like Indian dal, which is cooked down lentils, and so many other varieties. Even pulling from other cuisines around the world, such as South American cuisines, there are so many beans included in these cuisines, and they're really healthy for us. Now, are you ready for my bonus item that I want you to think about always keeping on your grocery list? It is nuts. I am nuts about nuts. I really am, because they're so easy to include in our diet and they pack a lot of nutritional punch. A really great source of fiber for us. They have some protein, they have healthy fats. They even have omega-3 fatty acids, specifically walnuts, which are a really type of healthy fat that come mostly from fish. And if you're somebody that doesn't like fish, you don't like the taste, or you just don't eat fish, including nuts in your diet is one of the best ways to boost your omega-3 fatty acid intake. Nuts are also super versatile and they have a pretty long shelf life. especially if you roast your nuts or buy pre-roasted nuts, they're going to last for a little while. If you're somebody that has a sweet tooth, I'm going to give you permission to get some candied nuts, but just be careful that you're not eating them like potato chips, because nuts are, as I mentioned before, a rich source of healthy fats, but along with that comes a high calorie level. So these are foods that should be satiating us, and they can be incorporated into other dishes or snacked on alone. But one of my favorite things to have as my emergency snack in the car is a little Ziploc bag of mixed nuts, maybe even a little bit of chocolate thrown in there, so that I am never in a situation where I'm so ravenously hungry and I'm driving. And when we're driving, what are the food options? Well, they're slim to none, but often it's gas station food or fast food. So now it is your turn to tell me, what is your always item on your grocery list? Is there something that you buy no matter what, or something that you never let run out of in your household? Comment and share below with us so that we can share some ideas of healthy hacks and things to do to make grocery shopping easier, less stressful, and making being healthy automatic for us. Now, if this video is working for you and you like what you've heard, I want you to go ahead and like it, hit the thumbs up button, and consider sharing this with at least 3 people. Could be a friend, family member, a neighbor, who you think could benefit from learning a little bit more about healthy eating, diet, nutrition, and so much more. So picture this. You just got to the grocery store. You pulled up in the parking lot. You have your bags, you're ready to go, but you realize that this is the most stressful, overwhelming thing that you have to do. There's so many things that you can buy in the grocery store. You aren't really sure what you're gonna be getting. And with a gazillion choices, this is something that you dread. Not only that, you're ready to start eating healthier, but you're not really sure how to do that. So first, I'm going to suggest that you take a few steps backward. Don't even get out of the car yet. And if you did, go ahead and get back in the car. I want you to sit down. Take 30 seconds, get out a piece of paper or your phone, and make the simplest grocery list. Do yourself a favor and make a little mini plan. Here's what you're gonna do. You're going to make 4 very simple categories on your grocery list. Number 1, produce. Number 2, healthy protein choices. Number 3, whole grains. And number 4, something that makes you happy. For a much deeper dive on the process for how to make the perfect grocery list for the Mediterranean diet, I suggest that you check out my video over here on Mediterranean diet, meal prep, and planning. So why did I include that 4th choice? Well, the Mediterranean diet and lifestyle is all about sustainability, wellness, and overall well-being. A big part of that is not depriving ourselves of things that we want. Your diet and your routine should feel healthy and balanced, balance being the key word. So I suggest getting something that feels like it's just for you, something that you like, even if it's not quote unquote healthy. But my rule of thumb, this is what I do for myself. Each time I go to the grocery store, I limit myself to 1 item that falls in a category of what I would consider unhealthy. Something highly processed, sugary, a quick snack, and something that's not necessarily giving me nutrition my body needs, but something I just like to eat, like ice cream or chips. By the way, if this video is useful for you so far, or you're getting value here, I want you to go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Make sure to turn on the bell notifications. I don't want you missing any important information. Now we know how to kind of make our quick grocery list and our plan of action. What's the second tip I have for you? Well, this is to never go to the grocery store hungry. Now, I know, sounds a little bit silly, but here's why this is very, very important. When we are hungry, our bodies are going to crave fast energy sources, very sugary things, salty, fatty things. Fortunately or unfortunately, in the US, our grocery stores are so full of abundant choices, more than any other place I've ever been in my life. And that's great. Choice is awesome, but it can also be very overwhelming and distracting. If you are on a mission to take care of your health and to take care of your diet, and you want to follow a Mediterranean diet approach, you need to maintain a little bit of strategy. And we all know what it feels like to be hangry or hungry and tired. When you're hungry, you really can't think clearly. And if you have a goal of tackling your health, you want to be able to think very clearly and know exactly what you're trying to buy at the grocery store. This ties into why I suggest that people always keep a little bit of a snack in their car, even if it's just simple roasted nuts in a Ziploc bag, so that you're not totally ravenous when you have to go do errands like grocery shopping. So my third tip for you for how to grocery shop like a champ is to follow the principle, out of sight, out of mind. This ties back into that first principle that I talked about, where you have one little cheat item that's just for you, doesn't necessarily need to be a healthy item, but planned out. If we are loading our grocery carts with a lot of junk, we are loading our kitchens with a lot of junk, that means we're loading our bodies with a lot of junk. You see how that works? If you're not having something available to eat in your kitchen, you're not going to eat it. Don't try to kid yourself. If you have something available to eat in your house, you are going to eat it. I can't tell you the number of times and the number of people who talk about cheating on this diet or sneaking something in. That is crazy talk to me. We shouldn't be able to give ourselves the option to even do that in the first place. We're only setting ourselves up for a lot of disappointment and frustration. Instead, what I like to do as a nice rule of thumb, I force myself to have a pretty healthy fridge and pantry. So my kitchen is stocked with healthy food. Then most of the time, I'm only giving myself the option to eat healthy food. Then when you're in a restaurant and you're completely surrounded with smells and you're seeing what other people are eating at their tables and you can't hold back in that circumstance, well, that's okay because you're limiting yourself to eating that when you go out. That also makes eating out feel a lot more special. So remember, give yourself a little grace. We're all human, and it is impossible, well, nearly impossible, to say no to something when it is in our face. Make it easy for yourself and get it out of your face. All right, are you ready for my fourth and my absolute favorite tip that will save you time and money at the grocery store? I learned this in nutrition school. If you shop only the perimeter of the grocery store, you are going to be mostly buying everything your body really needs and all of the fresh food. Think about it. When you first walk into the grocery store, what do they have first? Well, it's usually produce. It's the vegetables, the fruits, the fresh foods. So if you force yourself to start there and you continue along the perimeter, you're probably going to run into the fish, then the meat, then the dairy, then there's going to be eggs, then things like yogurt, cottage cheese, ricotta. Do you get what I'm saying? All of the perishable foods are really all of the natural foods, and these are the things you want to be stocking up your grocery list in your household with the most. The Mediterranean diet is all about fresh ingredients. When I lived in Italy, I learned very quickly that people go grocery shopping every single day. They go to work, and then on the way home from work, they pick up their groceries for dinner. For us in the US, that is unthinkable. We go to the grocery store once a week and we load up our carts to the maximum and we go home. But the problem with that is we're not really buying things based off of our meal planning necessarily, and then there's the risk of things going bad before we get to them. Obviously, the plus there is that it's going to save you more time overall, and we can't compare ourselves to Italy. We have a completely different lifestyle. They are often living very close by to a grocery store. Everything's in walking distance. It's just a different setup. But we can learn from some of those practices in the sense that we emphasize buying fresh ingredients. The more fresh things you're eating, probably the healthier things that you're also eating. Now, that's not to say that the perimeter of the grocery store has everything that you'd want to buy as part of the Mediterranean diet. Of course, in the center aisles, you're gonna have your olive oil, nuts and seeds, lots of whole grains, legumes like beans or lentils. But quite honestly, a lot of those dry goods you can buy in bulk and they're gonna last you a pretty long time. So you could stock up on those things less often or even buy them wholesale. And then in the interim grocery shopping trips that you might need to do once a week or every other week, you're loading up with just those fresh ingredients to replenish your fridge.
And now let's jump over to how to optimize your grocery shopping to make it simpler and faster. Now, following any eating pattern really starts at the grocery shopping stage. And to do that effectively, I'd argue that the best way to set yourself up for success is to make a list. This is something that's gonna help you stay on track, buy the foods you really want that your body needs, and save a lot of time. So here's how I make my grocery lists in 3 simple steps that will help you be efficient and save a lot of time at the grocery shopping stage. Step number 1, I always keep a note in my phone with a checklist that I can quickly edit on the fly. I used to enjoy writing my grocery list out with pen and paper, but honestly, as phones developed and we use them for so many more things today than just calls and texts, it started to become really inefficient. efficient. I know my phone's always going to be with me, and then when I think about something that, oh, I don't want to forget to buy this at the grocery store, I can quickly jot it down. Now, some people like to use food tracking apps to put their grocery list right inside, and that's great. If you're somebody who's comfortable doing that and that's your routine, I definitely suggest you keep going. But for those of you who really don't have a flow yet, definitely start with a simple way, such as a note in your phone, blank, that you can just put a little checklist. Now, a pro tip here, a way I recommend structuring your list is in the order in which you're going to find those foods in your local grocery store. So you're gonna know the layout of your grocery store best. The best thing to do is to put the foods in the list in order of you going from start to finish through your grocery store. This is gonna save you massive time. Number 2, I run through my checklist by the broad categories of food that covers all the basic nutrition I know my body needs. Part of this is understanding a little bit about nutrition. Something I like to think about is having a healthy trifecta anytime I prepare a meal. So that's having enough fiber, healthy fat, and protein. And hey, subscribe if you're finding this video useful so far. Okay, step number 3. This is how I save myself a lot of time when making my grocery shopping list so that at the grocery store, I'm really speedy. And this is to separate my forever foods, my staple foods on my grocery list that I always want to have in my kitchen, from my just this time foods. Here's what I mean. In the Mediterranean diet, there are certain foods that are absolutely an essential part of this diet, and these are the plant-based foods. So these are going to be our vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and legumes. These are foods that I always want to have on stock. It's easy to cook with these things because they're so versatile. Now, often something like an olive oil, a peanut butter, or dried goods like rice or dried beans are things that you can buy in bulk. So they're definitely going to last a long time in your kitchen, and you're not going to have to rebuy them every time you go to the grocery store. For example, I usually buy tea and coffee in bulk. This not only saves on money, but it saves me time later because I don't have to rebuy it every time. Now, what did I mean by only this round of foods? Well, I'm a true believer in balance and sustainability when it comes to healthy eating. Now, this can be tricky for some folks who really need that out of sight, out of mind principle when it comes to some of our junk foods like chips, cookies, or ice cream. But at the same time, we really don't want to overly restrict ourselves and build up so that we're having cravings and we binge on these things the next time we come into contact with them. So my rule of thumb is this: I always add one item to my grocery list that's sort of a just for me item and just this time. I change it up each time so I don't get bored. Maybe it's gonna be something like ice cream or biscotti or even popsicles in the summer. But here's the kicker. You wanna write that down on the list. Hold yourself accountable to buying only one item. If we don't write it down, we're gonna go too rogue in the grocery store, and then when we see something that we hadn't been thinking about that, oh my goodness, we love, we're gonna grab that. And then, oh, we love that too, we're gonna grab that one also. And before we know it, we're filling our house with foods that are not serving us health-wise. Now, before I give you my bonus, comment and share below with us, how do you save time? What are your health hacks? Share so we can bounce really great ideas off of each other. Now, bonus tip time. We just learned how to save time throughout this entire video so far, but here's how you can save money. When buying your produce, which are the vegetables and fruits, go for seasonal produce. Why? Because when you do this, you don't have to pay for the extra import and export costs that are added to the price of that produce when they're shipped from far away. Buying seasonally is definitely cheaper, and often the produce is gonna taste a lot better. One way you can hack yourself out of this is by buying produce in season and then freezing it. Something my family always did growing up is we went berry picking in the summer. It was a June activity. It would be blueberries or strawberries or blackberries, whatever we caught, and then we would collect them in bulk and put them in Ziploc bags in the freezer all winter long so we could make pancakes or smoothies with them whenever we wanted. That always saved a lot of money, and it was way tastier. Okay, so at this point in the video, you're probably so stoked to start eating the Mediterranean diet, eating healthier, and just jumping into this amazing way to approach food. But maybe you're wondering, what do you actually make for all your meals? Do not worry, I have you covered in my complete guide where I talk about dozens of ideas for breakfast, lunch, dinner, even snacks and desserts. Jump into that video, I'll see you in there.